Got it.
Bam.
Awesome. Well, welcome in attempt number 2 at the Major League Podcast today. I'm your host, Jacob Major. I got my buddy here with me, Ian Nikkel. What's up, Ian? How's it going, brother?
Dude, it's going well. Happy to be on. Haven't been on yet.
I know it's been a minute since I ran my show. My kid's in daycare now, so I got
on the
more
kid.
free time. Oh, it's so nice. It's so quiet, so it's going to bother me here later today. So, all right. So today we're talking about Texas, Oklahoma State, and then I'm going to yell at the NCAA for the Baylor situation, but you can kind of say whatever you need to say on your piece there. One of the Oregon pages that I follow just said, just retweeted that Max Olson tweeted out, the NCAA's 5-year investigation in Baylor's sexual assault scandal will end with minor penalties and a conclusion that, quote, widespread institutional failings, end quote, did not violate NCAA rules. He retweeted it and said, meanwhile, Reggie Bush still can't get his Heisman Trophy back. Solid work, NCAA.
I may say this later on. The NCAA stinks.
Oh, dude,
that's all I have to say on it. You want to just hit that on the head real quick? Because you're going to dunk on them more than I can. All I have to say is that they stink.
Oh, no, they're terrible. So I tweeted this out from my actual page, and I don't tweet sports stuff out from my actual page anymore. I do it from my podcast at Major League 3, and the other one that I'm associated with, the at Sooners _ B12C. That's Big 12 country, if you guys want to know. So I tweeted out, the NCAA just said that general recruiting violations, smoking marijuana, the Penn State situation, and what's going on with the men's basketball federal investigation is a more punishable situation than a member university that allowed rape to happen. Let that sink in your head for a minute. Or here's one even further. The NCAA just came out and said they don't care about the non-student athletes and their safety. Let that sink into your head a little bit. I'm sorry, if I'm a parent, you're not going to Baylor.
Yeah.
At this point, if you're a major institution, why would you go to anybody in the NCAA right now? Right now, the NAIA is just looking at this going, hey, we punish our people for doing things, and we also don't say anything like 99% of the time. So unless you're really bad, we don't get involved. And I'm a former NAIA guy, and I can tell you they would have straight up dropped Baylor.
Yeah, I think Baylor should have had penalties at least similar to Penn State and what they received. Because they received what? 2-year?
They essentially received a non-death penalty death penalty.
That would have been appropriate. And it also would have been appropriate if you gave it to them like 6 months after we found out. Because that's what happened with the Penn State stuff. It should not have taken
jail from Baylor about this situation. So what do you mean they didn't break NCAA rules?
It should not have taken this long to figure out that. I think that's just a stupid decision.
The NCAA just proved today just proved they don't need to be around governing college universities ever again. That's essentially what they did. That's what they came out and said. Never mind, you broke Title IX stuff and all of that. We're not gonna punish you for any of that.
I agree.
All right, so we're gonna get off that because I'm probably gonna dunk on them all the rest of the day on my Twitters. So if you guys want to follow me and follow that, and I'm gonna give a shout out at Ian Nikkel for his Twitter page. Dude just puts out great content when he does go on and post things. So definitely give him a follow. And what are you majoring in at Oklahoma State?
Sports media.
There you go. There you have it. What a better, who better to follow that? All right. So we're going to be talking about on my Big 12 preview today. I'm going to be telling you why Texas is a 6-6 football team, and Ian's going to tell me why I'm wrong about Oklahoma State being a 7-5 football team. So Ian, we'll start with you, brother. Why is Oklahoma State going to finish better than 5th or 6th, wherever I have them, and better than 7-5?
So I think you have them in 5th. I think Oklahoma State has a lot of good assets that that I think a lot of people haven't seen in a long time. I think the defense is as good or better than it was last year. It all kind of depends on the offense, really. The running back room is absolutely loaded with LD Brown, Dominic Richardson, Desmond Jackson. It's going to be running back by committee, and you got three capable dudes who can run the ball easily. You have a great safety core with Harvell Peel, Trey Sterling, Tanner McAllister. I mean, you got a good cornerback in Christian Holmes, who's transferred from Missouri. A lot of it depends on the offense. Can Spencer Sanders step up? I think he can. I think we're capable of seeing him play like he did in the Cheez-It Bowl. The receiver core is a big question to me, but I think Tate Martin's going to do a good job. I think you'll see the emergence of Presley from Bixby. That kid is phenomenal. The O-line has more experience under its belt, led by Josh Sills. They all have, a little more experience. So they're going to play better than they did last year, and that was a big problem last year. The defensive line, Trace Ford, Colin Clay, Israel, Antoine, a lot of those guys, they look good this year. And Irby too, Tyler Lacey, got a shout out my he's a linebacker, but Bo Hardy, fellow Piedmont guy, got to give a shout out to him.
I mean, I've already plugged this. We're going to be calling Piedmont High School this year. So if you guys want to, want to shout out anybody from Piedmont at any time, go ahead and do that.
Hey, of course. But yeah, they have a really talented roster this year, and I can make a case. I don't know if I will. I can make a case that they are the third best team in the Big 12, behind Oklahoma and Iowa State. I think it's going to be those two for the Big 12 championship pretty easily. But I think Oklahoma State has a good opportunity if they don't squander it. If honestly, a lot of it depends on, is Gundy gambling? If he doesn't gamble, then I don't think that they're going to have a lot of success. They need him to play a little risky, and he has to make the right calculated risk.
They need him to start coaching like he did before he got the mullet. Fearless. That's what Oklahoma State ultimately needs, is fearless Mike Gundy, who poor Oklahoma State, people thought that he just kind of attacked that mentality. And then he got this mullet thing going, and it was just ridiculous. And honestly, if he can coach like he did pre-mullet, Oklahoma State's going to be fine, no matter what conference they end up in moving forward with the whole Big 12. Is it going to stay around or not? So for Oklahoma State, for me, for this year for Oklahoma State, it's going to come down to the offensive line play. They weren't great a lot last year, but they also weren't terrible a lot last year. So it's going to be, are they going to have, for me, the reason I've got 7-5 down for Oklahoma State is I've got them losing games late to where they lead the entire game. They look dominant. The team they're beating kind of sticks into it with a couple of, oh, well, what the heck just happened there kind of plays. And then you look up in the fourth quarter and it's like 4 minutes left and they're losing. And you're like, wait, whoa. What happened there? That's kind of what I see with Oklahoma State this year. And it's purely Mike Gundy. My question is Mike Gundy committed to being that dude? He should be the best coach in the Big 12 right now. If we're all going to sit here and be honest, he's the most tenured. He's been around the longest. He's seen the most things that's happened in this conference. He had Les Miles as his head coach when he was an offensive coordinator. So he should know how to do all the gambling stuff. He should know how to do everything that he needs to do to be a successful football coach, but yet he just hasn't done it. And so for me, it's going to come down to, is he going to be that guy pre-mullet, which he cut the mullet off this year. I don't know if you saw it. It's not a mullet. It's just straggly hair now at this point. But like you pointed out, I actually love Oklahoma State's receiving core and wide receiver group more than I did last year. And the reason I'm going to say this is because they're no longer predictable. When they passed it, who were they going to pass it to? When they ran it, you knew exactly the play they were going to run with Chuba Hubbard. It's the inside zone. It's the outside zone. So if you see everybody on the inside start creating holes, you know to attack the middle of the offensive line. If they're not, to attack the outside. So that's kind of why we saw Chuba Hubbard's regression last year, is because there was no design for the offense for them to be good. It was throw it deep to a guy that's really, really good, hope the guy on the inside that runs it is also really, really good, and hope the offensive line can block. And to me, that's failing offense. And so I'll be interested to see if also Spencer Sanders can take the step forward that he needs to take. As a true freshman, he was a true freshman, right? Or was he a redshirt?
He is currently going to his redshirt junior year.
Okay, so he was a redshirt freshman. When he played that, I think, second game, I said he would be Oklahoma State's next Heisman winner. I said that. I tweeted that out. He has not played like that. He has not shown that. He has not done anything to back up that mentality since. Now, we can't, last year early, he got hurt, right? Or was that in 2019?
So 2020 against Tulsa, he went down with an ankle injury and he missed,
that's right,
I believe, 2 games. So, and then after that, he was pretty iffy after that. I think he's a decent scrambler. I'm going to be very interested to see how that works out because, he has more experience scrambling now because of the O-line. They didn't do as good last year, but I feel more confident in them this year. And my projected record, currently I have them 8-2-2, where I have West Virginia and TCU. Those are both up in the air for me. The losses are Iowa State and Oklahoma.
Well, Oklahoma at this point is a given until Mike Gunny can prove he can beat him at this point.
I'll say this about OU. This is honestly the best team that they've had
in forever.
In a while, maybe since 2008. I think they're that capable. I think they could go to a national championship game this year.
I do have them, and I know the Homer glasses are probably on just a little bit. I do have them. I do have them undefeated on the year, but that's not to say there's not trip-up games for Oklahoma. I see TCU being the trip-up game because if you look at those first 6 games for Oklahoma, it's 3 games of garbage. Then you get West Virginia. So if you don't have the center situation figured out, you're going to have it figured out after West Virginia. They got who is it? Deontay Stills, who's a monster at nose guard. So you're going to have that figured out fairly quick. And then you've got Kansas State. We all know Oklahoma's failures with Kansas State the last couple of years. There's no reason to sugarcoat that. And then you got Texas. So you look at that TCU game, that's the week after Texas, and then there's Kansas after that. You essentially got a built-in bye week with Kansas. So you look at that TCU game, and it's just how focused are they going to be for that game? Are they going to show up for it? Or are they going to do the things they need to do? But ending the season on Oklahoma State, I just love Bedlam being the last game of the year for both these teams. I think it's the only natural fit for both of them. I think it's really the only thing that can be considered if we're going to be looking at both teams. But tell me about Oklahoma State's defensive line. Because if I remember right, didn't they lose Trace Ford off it? Or did he
tore his ACL in, I believe, the Baylor game. He's back now.
Okay. So we're looking at Oklahoma State being more of a complete defense than they were last
year. Yeah. The only question I think
S&P Plus had them top 18.
Yeah. I think that they're probably a top 3 defense in the Big 12. I don't know how much of a stretch that is. I'm not saying they're the best defense, but I'm saying they're a really, really good defense. And I think they have the best safety core going right now. They also brought in Jaden Biggs, who was he was supposed to go to A&M at one point. And or Kendall Daniels. Sorry. He's from Biggs. Sorry.
That's right.
So Kendall Daniels. Yes. Yeah. A&M guy. But now he's an Aggie, an Oklahoma State Aggie. So
the good kind of Aggie, the one that doesn't make themselves embarrassing on Twitter.
Speaking of the SEC stuff, I will say this. I don't blame OU and Texas at all for going to the SEC. I don't blame them. And from an Oklahoma State standpoint, you just saw your biggest rival leave. And I don't know how you feel. I think Oklahoma's biggest rival is Texas. So they're going to follow their biggest rival, and it kind of left Oklahoma State on the cold. I don't blame anybody, but that's just kind of how it is. And I could see from an Oklahoma State perspective where you'd be a little salty about it. So
right. I completely understand why they're salty. I'm an actual little brother, so I completely get it. If my brother moved out and it was like, perfect, I get his room now. So that's what Oklahoma State has that chance to do. They go, okay, well, Oklahoma leaves, so we're just going to go take that spot. That needs to be the mentality, not this, oh my gosh, we're doom and gloom kind of bullcrap. Nah, man, let Mike Gundy go and coach and be that dude. You don't have to worry about that one loss that you're going to get at the end of every year now, unless they continue the rivalry. So it's at this point, we've talked about it. We've said that the Pac-12 is the best landing spot for Oklahoma State. I've continued that. I got into an argument with an actual Pac-12 person about that. They said that Oklahoma State would be on the Washington State level of competition in football. And I was like, no, that's not true at all. The Big 12 has been a better conference than the Pac-10, 12, whatever you want to call them, since Mike Gundy's been there. And if we look at the overall record, Mike Gundy has Oklahoma State third in that conference with total wins and winning percentage and wins against top 25. And the fact that I think every time he plays a Pac-12 school, he wins. So, I mean, we're looking at Mike Gundy can go to the Pac-12, but he will have a team ready to compete. And he kind of gets to work his demons out on a team that wears red a little bit too, because USC is not always great every single year. So really, you're just looking at Oklahoma State, looking at Oregon, saying, okay, let's go. And really, that's it.
I will say this. I mean, there's teams in the SEC that play their non-conference rivals at the end of the season. There's no reason that
Clemson and South Carolina, I think Georgia Tech.
Georgia
I know
Tech.
early in the season it's Florida State. So
Louisville and
it
Kentucky.
happens. Louisville and Kentucky. Yeah.
There's no reason why this rivalry can't continue. If it does, I mean, I don't like.
If it does, hey, when you guys win,
Yeah.
hey, we beat an SEC team, beat your chest, do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it should work.
That's how. Now,
Um,
will you chant SEC at any point?
Absolutely not. No. I'll do it to make fun. I will straight up do it to make fun of other fan bases that do it. Like the whole mocking, capital, lowercase, capital, SpongeBob meme kind of thing. I'll do it that way, but you won't ever hear me seriously chanting SEC. And hey, by the way, Facebook tried to put a warning on my account because somebody said, I'm going to chant SEC next time I see you. I said, well, remind me to kick you in the shin. I got a warning from Facebook about it. And they doubled down on it when I argued with them on it. Oh, it was great. It was great. There's a reason I love Twitter.
Hey, I got to tell you, on Instagram, I saw a post. It was like top 10 football commentators, and number 8 was Gary Danielson. I commented, Gary Danielson stinks. And before I posted, I was like, are you sure you want to comment this? Like, of course. What do you mean?
Meanwhile, I'm over here on Twitter just blasting Joey Galloway to the ends of the earth. And no problems. Hey, Kurt Herbstreit sucks. Yeah. No problems. We all agree with that.
No, Kirk Herbstreit's great, man.
It depends on what he's talking about.
Yeah, I love his commentary on some things. I like during games, him and Fowler, they're good.
They're a good combo together.
Yeah.
So staying on Oklahoma State here, staying on the defensive side, you said they're top 3 in the league. I think they finished 3rd last year behind Oklahoma State and Iowa State and S&P Plus. But what's interesting about it is I think they're a better defensive unit today than they were to finish the season last year. And really, when we think about that, they finished, I think, 18th. If I remember looking at it right, 18th in S&P Plus defense. So if they're going to be better, I mean, everybody in Norman's talking about Oklahoma finally having a top 5 offense and defense. I think Iowa State's going to finish somewhere near the top 15 like they always do. So could you possibly see Oklahoma State hosting a top 10 SP plus defense?
I think it's a possibility. It really depends on a lot of those, like the Texas Tech game. I feel like the Texas Tech game is always going to skew numbers up. That game's in Lubbock, so you never know. Lubbock chaos.
Flying tortillas.
Yeah. And then, I mean, obviously OU. I went to Bedlam last year. Mm-hmm. That was so much fun.
Oh, I bet that was just a blast. Watch Ronnie Perkins destroy y'all's offense.
Dude, whenever Marvin Mims it was some sort of acrobatic catch. I just knew it was over right there. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, well, this is going to be torture.
This is going to start not being fun here really, really fast.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I think it was the one where Ronnie Perkins pushed away Chuba Hubbard from his face mask, and I said, "Yeah, this game's over. We're done. Wrap it up."
I
All
think
right.
we
So
left.
looking at the
We left
schedule here,
close.
so October 9th for Oklahoma State is the bye week. So it's Missouri State, Tulsa, at Boise State, Kansas State, Baylor. Do you see any slip ups there?
I don't. Kansas State will be tricky. I'm not as worried about them because it's at home. That's where I'm kind of at with TCU as well later on in the season because it's at home. But I mean, Kansas State, I'm not super high on them, but they can always pull something out. I mean, you've seen the past 3 seasons what they're capable
Right.
of.
I mean, I said this yesterday on my show. I said Kansas State's either going to finish 6-6 or they're going to finish 10-3, and I have and everything else in between. Like that's how good or bad they can be. I think 6-6 is their base. If they just play terribly, I think Skylar Thompson's going to sneak his way into the second team All Big 12 selection. I mean, it's just I just really want to see Iowa State not get hurt. If they don't get hurt, they're probably going to challenge for that number 3 spot this year in the Big 12. And that says a lot because they don't have a lot of talent.
I'm kind of
They're just
curious
that well
about. Oh, my light went off. I'm very curious on whatever. I'm curious on Iowa State if they'll beat Iowa. That'll be something because they didn't beat ULL last year. I wonder
Right,
if they'll
and
have
that's
an
who
early
Texas
season
has to
slip
start
up.
with this year.
That'll be
And,
something.
and by the way, ULL started the coaches poll ranked.
Oh yeah, I mean no,
I think they're just behind Oklahoma State.
ULL is such a solid team. I like Billy Napier a lot. I thought he could have been hired for an Auburn job or like one of those group of or Power 5 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was actually surprised Oklahoma State was ranked in the coaches poll.
I kind of expected a little higher for him. I'm not going to lie. I had him in the low teens personally. So coming off the bye week, you guys go to Texas. So the second half of this is Texas for me. So we're going kind of reverse what I've been doing. I've been going up mine. We went to Oklahoma State first. We're going to go back down to Texas. Let me pull up my stat sheet that has my rankings. I have Texas 6-6, 1 game better than Kansas State in the Big 12 win-loss column, in the conference win-loss column. So why am I crazy thinking Texas is going to finish 6-6?
I don't necessarily think you're crazy. I'm giving them a little more credit, I think. I really like Casey Thompson. I like Bijan Robinson. I like what they have offered, right now. It really depends on that ULL game. ULL, Arkansas, I think they beat both. So I think that we may differ there. I don't think they're going to be world beaters. I think they'll do a little better. Maybe 8-4. But
okay. So here's why I question Texas.
Okay.
Is the 2 places you need to be really good at in the Big 12, especially this year with the defenses out, will be posted out there. Iowa State is going to have a really good defensive line. They're going to have a really good offensive line. Oklahoma, Bill Bedenbaugh just came out yesterday and said, I don't even have to yell at these guys. They know exactly what they're doing at offensive line. So that should tell you already he is very pleased with what he's seen out of the offensive line, which should scare everybody else in the Big 12. Defensive line, we all know what they're bringing back. They potentially have got 3 All-Americans on the defensive line alone. Then Jalen Redmond coming back, who led the team in sacks 3 years ago, something like that. So you look at the top of the conference, the defensive and offensive lines are really good. Oklahoma State's defensive line is really good. Oklahoma State's offensive line, I mean, we've got questions about it. It should be better, but there's still some questions on it. Then you look at TCU. What does TCU always have? A really good defensive line. But what about Baylor? Baylor's strength is probably going to be defensive line this year. So if we're looking at Texas, that's my biggest question, is their line of scrimmage battles. is going to be their offensive and defensive lines. I've been told by Texas people, oh, don't worry about the defensive line. They'll be fine. Well, no, they weren't really fine last year when they got pushed around basically every game. So for me, for Texas, they don't have a lot of talented depth at offensive line. If you want proof on that, go look at the last 3 recruiting cycles for Texas on the offensive line. I think their best one is a 3-star guy that not even Oklahoma won. And I think Oklahoma State didn't even offer them. So that should tell you the level of offensive linemen they have at Texas right now. And I like Texas's linebacking core. I like Texas's defensive backs. I like those guys. I think they'll be good for PK and his defense. I just don't trust anything they have on rotation for offensive or defensive line. And we both know that's what makes a team run. That's what makes teams on offense be either really good or really average. That's what makes a defense. I mean, we saw it with Mike Stoops' defenses. The defensive line were never told to go get pressure, and the defenses were always terrible for Mike Stoops at Oklahoma. So those are things we've got to, yes, do I think Texas can turn it around fairly quickly with Steve Sarkisian and his coaching staff? I do. I think he's got a bunch of really good coaches around him and a bunch of really good coaches that'll help him be a good coach. But right now, 2021, Texas does not have good depth. They don't have good talent at offensive or defensive line. And to me, that's the key. That's the biggest thing. The reason I have Texas losing so many games is, I mean, we can go look at their schedule. ULL is bringing back all of their defensive linemen from a team that finished, I think, in the top 20 in S&P Plus defense. Oh yeah, they also bring everybody back from an offense that also finished fairly high in S&P Plus defense last year. They're bringing back almost all 22 starters on their offense and defense. Think about that. The last 2 years, they've had more wins than any combined 2 years in their history. So that alone they're going to have Texas's attention. I don't think Arkansas is going to give them any challenge. I don't like anything Arkansas is going to throw out there. I do think they're building to something good. I think it's, who do they have after Arkansas? Is it, or before Arkansas? It's some no-name.
After Arkansas,
Rice.
it's Rice.
They have Rice after Arkansas.
They'll beat Rice.
So they have a bye week, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it's Texas Tech. I don't think Texas Tech, anything defensively is anything to write home about. And then they have to go to TCU before they go play Oklahoma. So they got 2 weeks to, I mean, after the Louisiana game, they've really got kind of 3 give-me games. Because I don't think Arkansas is very good, but if they sleep on Arkansas, they could find themselves in a football game. Rice isn't any challenge. Texas Tech really just make sure you don't blow coverages and double cover the wide receiver stud that they have. TCU, I like TCU this year, man. I think they're the 3rd best team in the conference, and I think they challenge Oklahoma and Iowa State. So I think they're going to play really, really good, and I think they beat Texas straight up. Whatever the point spread is on that, whatever take the under, and whatever the whatever the point spread is, take TCU and the points, and then whatever the over under, whatever the betting stuff is, just take TCU and all of it and take the under. I think TCU is going to be really good. And it's just based on what they got bringing back. And so we look at Texas's schedule right in the middle of the schedule. I mean, they go TCU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, bye week, Baylor, at Baylor, at Iowa State. So there's not any games in there from October 9th to November 6th that are just outside of Baylor that are just, hey, we can come play not our best and win. They have to play their absolute best if they want to be in any of those games.
I will say this. I mean, there's a big chance that because they lost that game against TCU last year. So I'm kind of thinking, maybe they get revenge on that. Maybe they really want to get revenge on that game. And then maybe they focus on OU. Maybe they lose that game. But I'm thinking from an OSU perspective, if Texas beats OU, they might get cocky enough to where Oklahoma State might slip past them.
Walk into Austin and beat them straight up.
Yeah.
Listen, I think Oklahoma State's a better unit than Texas on both sides of the ball. But I agree with Casey Thompson. I think he's going to be, I think he's going to be a really, really good quarterback. But right now, it's not even his job yet. He's still trying to beat out a redshirt freshman in Hudson Card. whose throwing motion I hate.
Oof.
So,
it's August 11th, so maybe it's one of those things where
I think we'll have a definitive answer when Texas runs out for their first series on September 25th against Texas Tech. I think we'll know who the starting quarterback is for sure then. So they might lose I think there is a very strong chance they'll lose the Louisiana game. I'm actually still a coin flip on that, who I'm picking in that game, if that tells you what I think about Louisiana. But they should, going to their bye week, they're probably going to host 3 or 4 losses. And I want to see what that fan base is going to say on their bye week, going into their bye week, going, dude, why do we have 4 losses? Why do we have 3 losses? And I think for Texas fans, and I think if Texas fans are going to listen in, they're going to hear me bashing their team. Yeah, come at me, whatever you want. Not that big of a deal. I'm not really worried about Texas fans. I can handle them on Twitter. But this year should be, like I said with Kansas and like what I said with Baylor, is what Texas has is they don't have bottom of the barrel talent. They have top of the barrel talent. They have out-recruited the Big 12 most years. I think all but like 3 years, they've actually been the highest recruiting team in the Big 12. And so it's going to be the buy-in stuff for me. Is the scheme and the buy-in going to be good enough to where those guys just sell out for it, and to where it's like, okay, let's go play football. And to me, that's going to be the biggest question, is can Steve Sarkisian get that culture change to tell the donors and those other people, hey, go away. Let me worry about football. We'll do all the stuff you want to do during the off season. In season, it's about football. Shut up and go away. And I think a Nick Saban can say that. I think an Urban Meyer can say that. I think even right now, Lincoln Riley can say that. But I'm not sure Steve holds that kind of power over those guys right now. So I think it's going to take a 2022 year to where I could actually see them being really good before he can say, hey, shut up, go away.
I think it's definitely possible that you see them break out in 2022, considering I don't think Iowa State will be as good in 2022 with Brock Purdy being gone and a lot of that core being gone.
I agree.
Now, 2 questions.
Yeah.
If this was another Tom Herman year, would you be more confident in them? And then B, did you know Texas has an offensive lineman named Jake Majors?
We'll go backwards on this. So B, Jake Majors. Yes, he and I have actually had a conversation about this on Twitter. I said he spells one of my buddies from high school said, hey, Jacob, did you see that there's a Jake Majors at Texas? And I said, listen, he's not part of the clan. He spells his name wrong. So to answer your question there, yes, I'm aware of him. Yes, I'm aware he might start this year. Yes, I'm aware I'm going to be tagged on a lot of posts on Twitter about that. And what's going to be great is when Texas fans come after me about his play. That's what I can't wait for, because I know it's going to happen. I'm just waiting for it to happen. It's going to happen. And I just can't wait to have so much fun with that. I might change my Twitter picture once it happens to that guy's face. Like, I straight up might do that. That's what I might do.
So we'll say this.
Just to troll the Texas fan.
He wears number 65, so
I'll change my Twitter profile to 65 for a season for that, just so I can eat all of the Texas people. That would be
so chaotic.
Oh my God, how fun would that be? Just seeing my Twitter stream of a bunch of idiot Texas people that aren't paying attention. That's going to be like the Roy Williams situation with the coach Roy Williams and the former OU player Roy Williams.
That's amazing.
I'm here for it. And to your first question, I think Tom Herman did deserve deserve at least this year. He did bring in some guys that are respected in the coaching portion of this. I think Tom Herman tried taking a little too much rain from who was it, Mike Yurkich? I mean, Mike has a good scheme. He helped the passing game at Ohio State, sorry. And he led Oklahoma State to really, really, really good offenses. So it's not like the guy doesn't know how to coordinate offenses. He's really good at his job. And I don't remember who they brought in defensively, but listen, defensively last year, Texas was nothing but just the injury bug at every single position, at every key situation that you needed, except for Oklahoma State, because, the football gods deemed Oklahoma State losing that game for whatever reason. And then I didn't think Tom did that terrible of a job last year when you look at what he had schematically. Should he have played Bijan Robinson earlier? Yeah, but who knows what you would have actually had from Bijan if with what Texas was doing. Who knows what it looks like? And I think that's what the biggest thing is all the Texas people tell me is he lost games that were winnable. He also won games that were highly losable. He almost won the Oklahoma game because Sam Ehlinger made a bad pass. Because his kicker had a kick blocked. I mean, we're talking about small things that he could have walked away the Red River game saying, we beat Oklahoma. And he should feel like his team that day beat Oklahoma. I mean, heck, he made Lincoln Riley bench Spencer Rattler. They had a good football team. They had good scheme. But to me, for Texas, it's a new coaching staff again. If you're a senior, you're now on your third head coach. So you're on your fourth defensive coordinator if you're on the defense and you're a senior. So at some point, it just gets tiring. And so I think that's what we're going to see is, okay, here's another scheme. Let's go out. And you kind of see him go through the motions. And that's why I talked so much right now, a little bit ago, about the buy-in. Is what does it look like for buy-in from these guys? Are they completely sold out to this new coaching staff, to this new scheme? Is Texas going to actually go out and give every single snap maximum effort? And that's what I'm curious about with Texas. And that's why I don't have them going as hot as they do. Because listen, you can attest to this. When you get like 4 or 5 different teachers, like I remember in 5th grade, I had 3 different teachers for homeroom. And I was like, dude, I'm kind of tired of all this teacher swapping. I'm not going to listen to this new teacher. I said that, and I'm one of the most competitive guys you'll ever meet. And so if I'm saying that mentally, just, okay, I'm kind of tired of this, athletes are saying that too. And, and I can't fault Texas players for thinking that either, because at some point it's like, dude, there's no stability here. And so that's what Steve Sarkisian has to sell. That's what their offense and defensive coordinator are going to have to sell. There's just a lot for Texas right now that I'm not sold on, that everybody else coming out of that is saying. And so we'll just see. I think Kyle Flood, we'll see what he does. He's got a lot of things he needs to do for that offensive line. So I think right now this is a development year. I think you kind of see them try things that's going to lose them games, and you sit there and go, well, why'd they do that? And you'll find out why in 2022. But their defensive coordinator, PK, up at Washington, he had really good defenses. So there's some hope there. And again, it's one of those, hey, we need to have buy-in on that. We need to have depth, and they have depth at everything but the offensive and defensive line, the most important part of a football team on both sides of the ball. I think they'll still be solid on special teams like they have been the last couple of years. I don't think that drops off, but I'm curious to see what Steve Sarkisian does with all the noise from the boosters, all the other crap that goes on with outside of just coaching football with Texas.
So I'll say this about I like the hires that they made at the coordinator positions for Texas.
Yeah.
And one guy they're really going to miss, Joseph Asai. The linebacker last year, he was phenomenal in the Oklahoma State game. He is a guy that they are definitely going to miss. They are 100% going to miss him. And then a guy, I like what they have at receiver. I really like Joshua Moore. I think Joshua Moore's going to have a big breakout year this year. You might see him on a couple of Biletnikoff watch lists. And then this is on Wikipedia, so take as it will. Jake Majors is a projected starting center. So
yeah, when he starts seeing bad snaps, you'll start seeing my
man. You've been waiting for this. Nah.
I'm not gonna lie. Until you brought it up, I wasn't even thinking about it. Now it's just like, okay, bring me all the heat. I want all of this. So I think also someone they're really gonna miss is gonna be Samuel Cosby. I think he was a really good anchor for the blind side there. They're gonna have to replace the blind side now. He was one of those guys that could tell them, hey, this is how we need to play on offensive line. And so there's a lot of inexperience with this Texas team, and that's why I'm not really sold on them. And there's a lot of players that left. There's been a lot of transfers. There's been a lot of decommitments. So it's right now, Texas is kind of, they're taking in a little bit more water than what they realize. And that's going to be what's interesting to me is can they get rid of can they patch those holes? Can they get rid of some of the water? Can they be the Texas that we all think they're going to be in 2022, late in the season 2021?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be very interesting. And I think that they might have a lot of momentum. I think they might have a really good last stretch of games, post Iowa State. So you look at the rest of their schedule, it's Kansas, West Virginia, Kansas State. I could see them winning all three of those and everyone being like, oh, okay, they'll be really good next year. So
and for me, the key is not even Kansas or at West Virginia. The key to me for those last three games are Kansas. The key is Kansas State. I really like Kansas State. They're a tough-nosed physical football team that are really, really, really well coached. And they've got versatile guys out of the backfield. They've got one of the best returners in the nation. So that last game of the year for Texas is going to be telling, I think. I think it's an 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox. It's going to be really, really telling how up for that game are they going to be to go to the bowl game to grab all of that momentum going to 2022. Because Oklahoma is going to be vulnerable in 2022.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen them do it time and time again. They won the Alamo Bowl last year. They won the Alamo Bowl in 2019. They won the Sugar Bowl. And,
I have no questions about them winning a bowl game.
Yeah.
My question is going to be everything else before the bowl game. I think they beat Kansas. I don't have Kansas winning a football game this year. And that's just because they have nothing at any position worth anything. I think I'm so sold on West Virginia one day, and then I'm so not sold on West Virginia the next. So when I wrote my Big 12 preview stuff, I was really sold on West Virginia. So today, you could probably swap Texas and West Virginia on my preview and say that's how they're actually going to finish, and I wouldn't blame you at all. But for Oklahoma State, I actually got 10 all Big 12 players. Are you ready for all this?
For Oklahoma State?
For Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with the second team guys on defense. I've got Malcolm Rodriguez, second team linebacker. Okay. I've got Trace Ford, second team defensive lineman. I've got Israel. Is it Antoine?
Antoine.
Also defensive lineman. On offense, I think you're going to like all these. I got Logan Carter, the fullback, the Cowboy back. And then I got, is it Danny Gottsky, however you say his name? He's an offensive lineman. And then I got the Alex Hale being the place kicker, second team.
Okay.
First team, I've got both of your safeties, Harvey Peel and Sterling. I think they should have got it last year. I'm one of those guys. I think we had that conversation too. Last year, they got sniffed on that. And then I got Josh Stills and I got Brennan Presley as your first team offensive players.
Okay.
I got 10. I got 10 for Oklahoma State that I could absolutely see. And that, to me, they could finish 10-2, or they can finish 7-5, and everything else in between.
I feel like this is just my expectation going into every year now. 9-3 Alamo Bowl. That's kind of been my thing since the start of this year, to be honest. I will say, I wonder about Sanders because he could potentially, because I think Rattler's going to go first team.
I do too.
If Purdy has not a bad enough year.
I don't think Purdy should have gotten first team last year. He didn't put up that impressive stats. He just won games. That's it.
Okay.
The only stat he was good at was wins.
Hey.
He didn't lead the Big 12 in any passing category.
I'm just going to say this. You play to win the game. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I think Sanders could potentially, I'm not saying he's going to, but I think he can potentially be a second team guy. Tay Martin, if he breaks out enough, I could definitely see him going second team.
Mm-hmm. Right now, for me, I'm really sold on Skylar Thompson because what he did the first 3 games last year. If he doesn't get hurt, we're talking about him potentially being the Big 12 first team quarterback last year. That's how good he was.
We'll say this is the same guy that lost to Arkansas State. So
and was the
He
only
beat OU?
quarterback last year. The only quarterback last year that put up a 65% or better. Let me verify that real quick because I keep all that. You know me, stats guys. Yeah, he's the only quarter. He and the guy from Texas Tech TCU, the only two teams last year to put up 70% pass completion percentage of 70% or higher.
Okay, that's fair. I will say this. I think this is where I have my bowl projections. I think OU's going to make the playoff. I think Iowa State's probably going to make a New Year's Six game.
Agreed.
I'm going to say OSU goes to the Alamo Bowl.
Games are tied for the Big 12.
I think TCU might go to the Cheez-It Bowl this year.
That'd be so much fun to see them return back to the Cheez-It Bowl.
So no, that's a different game. So that game was in Phoenix, and now that's the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. So this is the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando, which...
Okay, here's the 2020-2021 bowl game affiliations for the Big 12.
Okay.
New Year's Six game / college football playoffs, Alamo Bowl, Camping World Bowl, Academy Sports and Outdoor Texas Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl, the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, and that's it. Those are the ones that are weird directly tied.
I think Texas is either going Texas Bowl or Liberty Bowl. West Virginia made the game last year. Made the Liberty Bowl game last year. Heck, the Kansas State would probably be good in the Liberty Bowl. I think there's a chance that you see maybe 6 or 7. Yeah, 6 or 7.
I got 7 Big 12 teams.
You do?
I have 7 Big 12 teams with 6 wins. That gets you to a bowl game.
I'll say this. I'm actually kind of high on Texas Tech this year. I kind of like what Texas Tech is going to do. Yeah, really? I like the quarterback they got from Oregon. I like Matt Wells a lot. I think they could potentially have
the only one on this show that does. I talk to people from that cover Texas Tech, and they're not sold on.
They're not sold on the Oregon guy?
No, on Matt Wells.
Oh, okay.
So between all the people I've talked to, you're the only one.
That's wild. I happen to like it. I like him a lot. I like what he did at Utah State. Had that 10-win season with Jordan Love.
Right.
I think they could do something. They could do something. I could definitely see them going 5-7, 6-6. That's just me. But if they don't like him, then I mean they're down there more.
Right. And I think it's kind of they've been trying to find a Mike Leach kind of guy that's going to make sure their team does what they're supposed to. So if I'm going to back up on you in bowl game predictions, obviously I got Oklahoma in the college football playoffs. They're my national title pick. I've got whichever New Year's Six bowl game that they're going to throw Iowa State, whatever one they go to. Depending on who they play, I'm probably going to pick them. So for the Alamo Bowl, based on my standings, I think that's the next highest bowl game. So that's probably going to be TCU for me. The Camping World Bowl, I got West Virginia, Oklahoma
Camping
State,
World's the
Texas Bowl. Oh, is that what it is now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's different on this site then.
Okay, let me
see. Oh, here's a better one that has this year's date.
Let me find.
Okay, here it is. Guillermo, Alamo Bowl, Cheez-It Bowl, Texas Bowl, Liberty Bowl, Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Potential other matchups: the Armed Forces Bowl or the First Responders Bowl. There you go.
Yeah.
Big 12 champion goes here. If not.
So is this a year? Is this a Sugar Bowl year? That was last year, wasn't it?
No, I think this year's Sugar Bowl year.
Okay, so Iowa State would.
I don't think it's in the rotation this year. Yeah.
So Iowa State would go there. I have Oklahoma State going to the Alamo Bowl. That's just me. I have TCU going to the Cheez-It Bowl. I'm guessing Texas would probably go to the Texas Bowl because they love playing their games in Texas. So they'd probably go.
Whatever ball game it is, it's going to be there. It's going to be in Texas. They don't leave Texas.
Yeah. So Texas is probably going to the Texas Bowl. I think Kansas State's going either. These are honestly interchangeable. West Virginia and Kansas State, Liberty Bowl, Cactus Bowl.
To answer your question, yes, it is a Sugar Bowl year for the Big 12.
Okay.
It is not in the playoff rotation. It is the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. So I got Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. So it's the next highest ranked is if the Big 12 is in the playoffs. So they'll probably still end up taking Iowa State. I could also see Iowa State ending up in the Fiesta Bowl. I expect I don't have any Big 12. Do I have a Big 10 team in the playoffs this year? I don't think I do. So whatever Big 10 team goes to the Rose Bowl.
Ohio State. Ohio State will probably make the playoff.
I don't have them in my playoff.
Oh, you don't? I just assumed because I don't think the Big 10 is that strong right now. So I was just going to go with the devil.
No, I don't.
Ohio State.
I think
Penn State. I like Penn State.
I keep hearing that. I'm not sold on Penn State yet. I know James Franklin's going to turn it around because he is embarrassed about last year, and as he should be. And so if that's the case and they come out and play really well, I still have Ohio State winning that league. But Ohio State could be a 2-loss champion.
They could. I think it's them and Penn
I think
State
the
on
Big
one
Ten's
side.
going to beat up on each other.
That's where I'm kind of at too. Wisconsin, I don't know. They play Notre Dame.
I like Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I've got Ohio State winning it. In the SEC, I actually have Georgia, and they're in my playoffs.
Man, I do too, but I'm so scared. Just like, it's probably going to be Alabama.
I'm not worried about Alabama at all this year. You know who their offensive coordinator is, right?
Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. You're going to tell me Bill O'Brien's going to be a winning football coach all of a sudden? No. The dude's going to call play, and they're all going to run him out. They're going to run him out this year. They're going to have a new offensive coordinator next year because he gets fired.
You think he's going to get the Lane Kiffin treatment?
No, I think he's going to get the, hey, get the hell out because we don't like you. I think that's what it's going to be.
I kind of look at Alabama
to not be a really good football coach.
Yeah, that was him as a head coach, though. He's been okay as an offensive coordinator at some places. I think.
They don't need okay; they need excellent. Because what they're going to do is they're going to revert back to what they were in 2012. They're not going to run this. He does not add anything to this Lane Kiffin evolution into an RPO offense. What Bill O'Brien is he is a lineup. Bring me a football. Bring me 2 tight ends, and we're going to run the football.
That is true.
That's his core. That's what he is. He does not know how to run an RPO system. And they're going to try and tell him to run an RPO system. He's not going to know what he's doing. And Alabama is going to lose games because of it. Listen, they have the most talented quarterback in that conference, given inexperience, but the best talented quarterback in that conference. They've got the best collection of talent in that conference, and they're going to lose it because their coordinators aren't great.
I also just think that Nick Saban will just be like, all right, now he's going to go Thanos and go, fine, I'll do it myself, and everyth's going to be fine. That's just where I'm at on Alabama. That's good. It's such a fear about them.
To have.
Like if they lose one game, Saban's going to go, all right, fine, I'm going to take over, and then they win the rest of their games. That's just how it works.
I get that. I do. And I think who's their defensive coordinator over there? He's also a 3-4 guy. I forget his name because I wanted him at Oklahoma, and I'm kind of glad we didn't hire him, to be completely honest.
Pete Golding.
Yeah, Pete Golding. So Pete Golding's proven he's not very liked out there from what I hear already. So they're going to have to probably rely a lot on Pete Golding's defense to be the defense they think they're going to have down there. But listen, I get it. It's Nick Saban. It's hard to pick against Nick Saban. It's easy to pick against Bill O'Brien. I think Bill O'Brien brings Nick Saban down just a little bit to where he's catchable. And I think that's all Kirby Smart needs.
That's interesting.
is for him to be catchable.
I can't say I can't say that I don't I can't say that I disagree with you because I think you're right. It's just one of those things. You're like, it's Nick Saban. Like, if Bill O'Brien is like, I don't think Bill O'Brien is that powerful that he's going to bring down Nick Saban as much as you're talking about. Because again,
not like bring him down to like normal people range. He puts him in a catchable range to where we've seen it with Alabama and Georgia. It's one or two plays a game. Listen, it was the overtime. It was a couple drops and interceptions in the 2018 national championship game. There was a couple dropped interceptions by Georgia, and Tua Tagovailoa took advantage of it and won in overtime. It was just a couple of, hey, Jalen Hurts just made some ridiculously good plays in the 2018 SEC championship game, and they ended up winning it. That's all it was. It wasn't that Alabama just straight up destroyed Georgia, although they would have last year. I think they would have run all over Georgia, and I don't think it would have even been close. Then again, they did that to everybody. So I think this year is the Georgia Bowl. I think Kirby Smart knows what he has. I think everybody knows what Georgia is capable of doing, as we saw in 2017, and they finally got an actual quarterback back there. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference here. And I think that's why I'm so high on Georgia, is because their actual ability to have a quarterback that can actually throw the football, not a guy who's a true or redshirt freshman, a true freshman kind of playing his first go arounds and playing a Mike Stoops defense and get lucky. And then, oh gosh, Alabama's beat the crap out of us and we scored 23 points and that should have won the game. But I mean, it's Georgia's year. If Georgia and Kirby Smart are ever going to do anything, it's 2021. If they don't make the national title game, it's a failed year for them. I don't see that as the thing being for Alabama. I think they all kind of understand, hey, we just had the best collection of offensive talent ever. We're probably gonna have to take a step back on offense, and we're probably gonna have to rebuild a little bit. Alabama fans are smart enough to know that. And I think Georgia is smart enough to realize, hey, it's now or never. And so if they don't do it now, I don't think it'll ever happen. And plus, Georgia's schedule outside of Clemson, they play no one.
Which is kind of like, do you think Clemson makes the playoff as well?
No, I don't have Clemson. I have North Carolina.
Wow.
I'm sold on UNC, man.
Wow. Even though they lost like both of their running backs,
I don't think it'll matter.
A few of their receivers.
I don't think it'll matter.
What about Miami?
I think Miami is the team that finishes. They're in the same division, aren't they? Listen, Miami's in the same place that Texas is with their offensive line. They're not great at offensive line.
But I think De'Aaron King is better than Casey Thompson. I think that Miami. Yeah,
Derek King also played Oklahoma State and tore his ACL.
Yeah, true.
Because his offensive line couldn't stop him.
He's going to be back against Alabama, so that was a running play. That was a running play he tore his ACL on. It's very questionable, but
he took a lot of hits last year, man.
He did.
He took a lot of hits. So Miami is, I got it Clemson, North Carolina, for the ACC title game, and I got North Carolina winning because they're just going to be just a little bit better than Clemson, and that's all it takes. And then I've kind of been sold on this recently, and it's going to kind of blow your mind that I'm going to say this with playoffs. I've got a team that you're not going to even think of being in my playoff top four.
Okay, so I got to think. So right now you have Oklahoma, Georgia, North Carolina.
Yep.
You choose a Pac-12 team?
Nope.
Did you go group of 5?
I went group of 5.
Did you go with Cincinnati?
I went with Cincinnati.
Wow.
Someone sold me on Cincinnati, man. And it's just enough of the selling. All right, so listen, their schedule sets up beautifully for them to do this. They go to Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They can
go
beat
to Notre
Indiana.
Dame as well. Yeah, I don't think Indiana's that good.
They have a bye week and then go to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is a vastly overrated this year, and I think they beat them. And then who else on that schedule is going to beat Cincinnati? UCF. They didn't do it the last 2 years, so they're going to have a chance.
Now, so maybe.
Oh yeah, whatever. That dude's proven he can't win a big game. So now they're looking at an undefeated season in the regular season because I think they can beat Indiana. Indiana will be ranked for that game. Notre Dame will be ranked for that game. So now we're looking at the best opportunity for a group of 5 team that's ever been presented. They're probably going to play SMU twice because I think they're in different divisions. So it's, man, right now it is a good look. If you're Cincinnati, it's a good look. It's a really, really good look.
Is that possible? Yeah, they could go undefeated. I don't see the committee giving them that much credit that they'll get into the playoff. I could definitely see them doing that.
Listen, Notre Dame holds weight.
It does.
It holds weight.
But if they go 7-5, if they go 7-5, then that may not matter.
People consider them a blue blood. You say you beat a ranked Notre Dame and cause them to fall off the map. Don't think the committee won't look at that and go, dude, did you see what Cincinnati did to Notre Dame? They destroyed them and ruined their season. I don't think Notre Dame's going to be any good this year. I think Notre Dame's going to kind of be like what it was when Texas beat them in the 4 overtimes a couple of years ago and everybody chanted Texas is back. But if we're going to be completely honest, Cincinnati has a real shot at the playoffs. And I think it's not so much on Notre Dame's success or Indiana's success. It's how much Cincinnati wins by each and every game.
You know what? Indiana plays Iowa first. I think they lose that game. They play Idaho. I think they win that game. I think they go into that Cincinnati game 1-1. I don't believe in Indiana this year. And there's 17 right now.
It depends to me on Michael Penix. Is he the Michael Penix that blew everybody's mind last year, or is he some shell of himself? That's what it's going to be.
I think because they have film on it, they'll have room to expose them. I don't believe in Indiana at all this year. I think it was kind of a fluky thing for them. Because if you really want to think about it, their biggest win last year was a loss to Ohio State.
Yep.
So
they should have won that game, to be completely honest.
And then they ended up losing to Ole Miss in an Outback Bowl, and Ole Miss
with their third string quarterback.
5-5. It's still there,
with their
man.
Third string quarterback, man. Their defense is good. They're good football teams. They're not a great football team. They're not a college football playoff contender, but they're a good football team.
I just think the luck is going to run out this year. They might finish. Well, who knows how well Michigan does.
I got them second behind. No, Michigan's trash, man. Stop it. Don't bring up Michigan. They're awful.
You're just go, okay.
Awful. They're awful.
Awful. You think Washington beats them?
Yes. I think the Pac-12 beats the Big Ten this year in both their non-conference matchups.
All right. I think I have my playoff. You ready?
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Georgia, OU.
Okay.
Dude, I kind of want to go. I think Clemson's going to make it.
Really? And you're going to go Oregon, aren't you?
I might go Oregon. That's what I was thinking.
Oregon was mine, and then the guy that I run the Big 12 country account for OU sold me on Cincinnati. And looking at their schedule and looking at what they got, dude, it's doable for Cincinnati. It really is.
Don't get me wrong. I love Cincinnati.
I do too. I think they should be in the Big 12. You want to know why the Big 12 is breaking apart right now? Because they didn't add Cincinnati.
They didn't add Cincinnati, and they didn't add. I thought they should have added Memphis. I think getting Memphis,
UCF, SMU, or Houston, there was a huge opportunity for them to do so, and they didn't do it.
They could have. Yeah, they could have. I just think they put an Oregon team. They could beat Ohio State. Do you think they beat Ohio State in week 2 at Ohio State?
But here's the thing: is Oregon going to finish unscathed?
They might. Look, if they lose one game, they might.
If they lose one game, they'll be fine.
If it's
just one game, it's Oregon.
I think it's definitely possible that they lose one game and they put them in over an undefeated Cincinnati. I think it's definitely possible.
Oh, I think
that's
that's
where.
a thing. If it's one loss Oregon or undefeated Cincinnati, you're definitely taking Oregon, who holds a win over a top 5 Ohio State. That's just how it's going to work. I mean, we all know the committee well enough at this point to know that's how that's going to work. They're going to get that nod over an undefeated group of 5 team. Now, if Notre Dame actually holds up and continues being a top 15 team that year, they would probably get in over Oregon. I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, because they all have the championship game. Everybody has a championship game now. So everybody has that 13th data point. Is SMU going to be SMU or UCF? Are they going to be ranked teams when they play Cincinnati? That's what Cincinnati needs. Cincinnati needs the rest of the American to play above their heads a little bit.
It's one of those things where I want to agree with you. I just don't see the committee doing that. I just think
I can if everybody else is a 2-loss team. If you have your 3 guaranteed teams,
man,
we'll just say ACC team. We'll just say that because we disagree on our ACC teams, Oklahoma and Georgia. So we've got those 3 teams. They're all undefeated. They're all conference champions. You've got the runner-up for the ACC, whoever it may be, with 1 loss. Let's just say that. So now you're looking at a potentially 1-loss Oregon, an undefeated Cincinnati, and a 1-loss non-champion ACC team. That's now your argument.
Yeah. Now, like I was beating the drum last year for Cincinnati to be in the playoff.
They deserved it last year too.
And heck, I probably do it again. I'll do it again next year.
We're gonna come into November and you're gonna be beating your chest about Cincinnati.
I'm gonna definitely
hit you up and go, "Oh, what changed there, Ian?"
No, and I want to make this clear. I agree with you. I just don't think the committee will do it. I don't think they have the cojones to do it. So I'm going to call them out right now. If the committee does it, I will go, hey, I was wrong, and all that. I just don't think the committee will do it, and that's my reason behind it.
If the committee does it, I can guarantee you in 2022 there will be a 12-team playoff immediately.
Oh, for sure.
If they leave them off, I think not only does the American just start going after the NCAA and the whatever people need to get the 12-team approved for 2022. I think they do it I think they start getting in the Big 12 teams, the remaining 8. I think they start going after the Pac-12 teams and they go, hey, we need to group up because we're getting left out a little too much
here. Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me.
All right. So for me, for Oregon, I have them beating Ohio State. I have them.
Okay.
I have them going pretty much undefeated to the Washington game. That's the game, and the Utah game. Those 2 games to me are going to determine how good Oregon is. Is Oregon going to be a 1-loss or 2-loss team based on those 2? How healthy are they? Is Utah that defensive team we saw a couple of years ago that beat everybody until they played a top 10 offense and then got exposed? Or is Washington that team still defensively and just has some minor? I mean, Washington beat Oregon last year.
I've heard so many things about Utah.
Dude, Utah's the OU of the West.
TJ
Pledger and Theo Howard.
They got Charlie Brewer. They can make some noise as well.
They can make some noise. They're consistent on defense. Charlie Brewer could revive his career a little bit out there at Utah. TJ Pledger could be a dude for them. Theo Howard's going to get a lot of playing time. I don't think they have anything on the wide receivers. So Utah's an interesting team to me. I don't trust USC whatsoever to do anything. They kind of proved that to me last year when they played an Oregon team that was not really all that great and lost pretty badly to that said Oregon team. So for me, it's going to be Washington. Is Washington going to beat that Oregon team, or is Washington going to lose to them and Oregon finishes the year undefeated? I honestly,
it's definitely possible.
I'm going to say this. If the Washington game ends in a Buki Radley-Hiles pick 6 for the game winner, I'm going to be unbearable to all of the OU people on Twitter that spent nothing but the last 3 years blasting Buki Radley-Hiles, and I'm going to come after him pretty hard. and I'm going to be a little unbearable. I'm probably going to get blocked by a lot of them.
I like Arizona State too. I think Arizona State's good. I like
I've said
Herm
that the
Edwards.
last 2 years, and they've done nothing to back that up.
Yeah.
So I'm selling that stock now.
Oh, I thought I saw a media poll, but no, that's just an I was looking on Wikipedia. It was in alphabetical order. I mean, you look.
Yeah, I
you
think
look
that
at-
comes out next year or next week.
You look at the West or the South in the Pac-12: Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, UCLA, USC, Utah.
It's
I
USC.
You think
It's
USC wants
USC's
to-
division to lose. I don't think anybody else in that I don't think anybody else is nearly as talented. I don't think anybody else has nearly as good coaching. I don't think anybody else has nearly as a good quarterback. So it's and I think whoever they play out of the North, USC, I think they're going to get blasted, whether it's Oregon or Washington.
I really want to believe in Arizona State. I think it's going to be those three teams: Utah, Arizona State, and USC that are probably going to be.
What are your thoughts on UCLA?
I don't know.
Was it a fluke last year?
No, I don't want to say it was a fluke. Because they lost their last two games. They're really close. I think they'll be competitive, but I don't think they're gonna win the Pac-12.
In the North or
I think
South?
they'll win a bowl. I think they might win a bowl game.
So they lost to Stanford 48-47 in double overtime. They lost to USC 43-38. They beat Arizona in Zona 25-18. They beat Arizona 27-10. They lost at Oregon 38-35. They beat California 34-10. And they lost at Colorado 48-42.
That's so weird to me. I don't even know if we should take. You know, as weird as it is, because they played 7 games. I don't know how much consideration I could take in the Pac-12 season. Same with the Big Ten, really. UCLA is going to be super interesting.
All of their losses were combined 24 points.
Man, shoot, they might pull something out. I like their quarterback, Dorian Thomas Robinson.
Yeah, something like that. Chip
I-
Kelly, man.
He's a good
Chip
quarterback.
Kelly, man.
Hey, do you think they beat LSU?
No, absolutely not. As low as I am
Really?
on LSU this year, I think they still beat the crap out of UCLA.
I don't know how much. Well, they just lost their quarterback.
From what I've read,
something?
the guy behind him was every bit as good.
Man, I think
I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all, but I don't think they lose to UCLA.
I might take a flyer. If I'm betting point spread, I might go UCLA. It's at UCLA too.
UCLA and the points.
Yeah, I want to go money. I wouldn't say money line. I'd go, points. Let me check the spread real quick. That's super interesting.
Hey, that's a 7:30 game on Fox in the Rose Bowl. Listen, the reason I'm not taking UCLA in that game is I'm going to lead best player on the field, and that's Derek Stingley Jr. I think he is so good at cornerback. He could be the first cornerback we see go number one, and gosh, I don't even know how long it's been since we've seen that.
Ever? I don't know.
I don't have an answer for that. I'm a stats guy.
Current spread.
I'm actually doing that real quick.
Current spread's -4. I take UCLA with that. Could be LSU by a field goal. That's a really close game to me. A close game. Now I'll ask you this.
Derek Stingley Jr. could be the first ever defensive back to go number one overall in the NFL draft. That's
Very
how good
possible.
Derek Stingley Jr. is.
It's definitely possible.
He's going to return their punts. He's going to play both sides of the ball, Ian.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a version of prime time. Because prime time return kicks.
Dude's good. I mean, I don't have LSU doing very well. I got them losing to Auburn. I got them losing to Florida on probably another technicality like throwing a shoe. I've got Alabama beating them. I got Texas A&M beating them. So I'm not very high on LSU this year, but when we're talking about a team in UCLA that doesn't even have the same level of players as LSU, it's hard for me to take UCLA in a game like that.
Yeah, I get that.
And this is not me beating my chest, SEC either. This is just looking at LSU and saying, dude, they're way more talented than UCLA at every position.
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, I'm kind of, because they got to go. They have new coordinators again this year. LSU does.
Do they?
I just don't think they're going to be as good.
Oh, I don't think they're going to be great.
But
I think they're a 5-loss team. But I don't think they lose to UCLA.
I might go against you on that. It's at home. I could see them pulling off the upset. Now, I'll ask you this, because I got to go here in a sec. What do you think of Florida State? I kind of like them.
I'm indifferent.
You're indifferent?
I like their quarterback.
I do too. I like their coach too. Mike Norvell.
We'll see on their coach. Let me pull up their stuff. So they start with Notre Dame. So I guess we'll figure out how good they are right off the bat.
Yeah, that's going to be that Sunday night game.
Play Notre Dame.
I dig that.
Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State at Wake. Louisville, Syracuse. They'll lose to North Carolina. UMass. They play UMass.
So really, I could see them losing. Let's see.
At Clemson, at North Carolina, I could legitimately see. I think they'll lose to Florida.
They'll lose to North Carolina. They'll lose to Clemson. They'll lose to probably NC State. I'm kind of high on NC State.
I got them beating NC State, but losing to Miami.
Yeah, I was going to say they'll lose to Miami, but that's going to be like really, really close too. And I think they might beat Florida. So I can see them going 7-5, 8-4.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because I like what they got with Melton. I like Norvell.
Oh, yeah. I love him a lot. I love Melton. I think he was the best quarterback that UCF has ever seen.
Can I say this?
By a mile.
That Notre Dame game. Home game, Sunday night, ABC, first game since Bobby Bowden passed. You know they'll be playing for Bowden.
They're going to have
I think that's going to be a big victory for Florida State.
If they deserve to win that game.
Yeah. I hope
just
they do.
From the Bobby Bowden stuff and all of that. I hope they do too. And man, Florida State, maybe. You could probably sell me on Florida State. Again, offensive line issues for me on them.
Yeah. All right. One last question before I go.
Yes, sir.
Top 5 coaches on the hot seat.
I think Ed Orgeron hits the number 5 spot for me.
Yep.
I'm going to say someone that no one probably expects. I think Mark Stoops is up on there because he's got some recruiting classes coming in. He's underperformed. It's probably going to be a team from the ACC. I think if Mark. Yeah, Fuente. Yeah, West Virginia Tech. And then let's see, kind of going across what I know, Clay Helton.
Yep, I agree.
I think that's your list right there. I think it's Mark Stoops, Ed Orgeron, Fuente, and Clay Helton.
Let me try to pull something real quick because I kind of want to have some coaches a little different from you, but I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I think Coach O. I definitely think
or Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, could be Harbaugh. Kind of an interesting one. Let me check the records real quick on this guy.
How about Scott Frost?
Yep, Scott Frost. Maybe Dave Clawson out of Wake Forest. I think he's done okay, but that might be one to watch out for. Let's see. Who else?
Jeff Collins down in Georgia Tech.
I think he's good. I think Georgia Tech's gonna do good this year. I think Jeff Brom from Purdue.
Yeah, I was just looking at him.
I think he might be in trouble. Let's see.
What do you think about Mike Leach?
Nah, they didn't need to give him time. They didn't give
whatever the last guy was,
Joe Moorhead, enough time, I think. Which also, I kind of said this at the beginning of this past year or during the middle of the season. His first couple years at Washington State were terrible. He went 3-9 and 6-7, and 3-9 in his first 3 years before he turned it around. At Texas Tech, and he went 7-6, 7-5. So I just give him a little bit of time there. I think they're going to figure it out at Mississippi State, at least with Leach. Let me.
Dana.
I thought about saying Dana, but I think they might give him one more year after this.
Dino.
Oh, I
at
think
Syracuse.
He's probably gone. I think he's probably gone after this year. Another guy I think you should look out for is Scott Statterfield. Louisville does not like him at all. I don't think so. I think that might be one to watch out for if he gets.
Here's one that I'm on the site. It's called coacheshotseat.com. Mike Norvell's in there.
Yeah, I mean, give him a little bit, but
Neil Brown's in there.
Nah, I think they'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Here's one all Oklahoma fans love, Seth Ruttrell. I think he saved his job last year.
Didn't he have like an 11-win season a couple years ago?
Something like that. They were pretty successful. There's Scott Satterfield down there.
He saved his season last year?
Yeah. He had 2 guys get drafted pretty high.
Oh no, that was a 9-win season. Okay, so he's had 2 9-win seasons and then 2 4-win seasons.
Yeah, he went 5-8, 9-5, 9-4, 4-8, 4-6.
He's 31-31. I mean,
at North Texas.
In North Texas, yeah. That's super competitive.
Let's see. So he's got 2 9-win seasons back-to-back years.
Yeah.
They haven't done back-to-back years of 9-win seasons since 1977 and 1978.
Dang.
They've had 1 9-win season since 1970 and 1978, and that was in 2013. So I think he's fine. But he can't have another 4-8, 4-6 year.
Who is North Texas' most famous alum, like football-wise?
It would have been me.
No. It's Stone Cold, man. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hey, I thought my answer was pretty good, though.
That is a good answer.
Let's see. So football-wise, it's Joe Green, man.
No, I'm saying, well, yeah. I'm just saying, Steve Austin played football there.
Did he really?
Yeah. I think it was called North Texas State back then, but he played football.
You're gonna take Stone Cold over Mean Joe?
Saying most famous. Not best. I'm saying most famous.
Maybe to your generation, people that don't know who Mean Joe Green is. Dude, that's Hall of Fame defensive.
No, I'm not saying he's in that Coke commercial. I'm just saying, I think if you polled, I think it'd be 60-40 Stone Cold.
We'll agree to disagree there.
No, I think he's the best North Texas player.
I had no clue Stone Cold even played there.
He played, he was actually, he played football there for a little bit. I don't think he played all 4 years, but he did play. I'm just saying, man.
Steve Williams played at North Texas in the 80s.
Yeah. I'm actually going to SmackDown. They're having one in Tulsa. Which is like what Pat McAfee's doing. So I'm gonna go check that out.
Go see Pat McAfee and give him a handshake.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say Mark Stoops is. I don't think his seat is necessarily hot, but I would say his seat is like the lowest setting on the seat warmers in your car. I think he's there because I think if they go another 4-win season, another 5-win season, finish under 500, whatever you want to call it, then I think it's not going to go too well for him next year if he does it again.
I agree. Hey, I gotta go. My brother left his trumpet in my car last night, so I have to go back. I have to he's a freshman. He's learning. But yeah, I gotta go drive to Guthrie to get it to them. So.
All right, man. Well, when's the football season start for us?
The third.
Third
at El Reno.
At El Reno, so we'll meet up at El Reno and dominate Putnam City football broadcasting.
Piedmont football.
Yeah, did I say Putnam City?
You said Putnam City.
Well, I've been doing them for a while, so
I know.
It'll take a minute. It'll take a minute.
I'll send you the schedule real quick.
Yeah, I got it on my phone. I just hadn't.
Okay.
I just don't have it in front of me.
Cool.
Well, all right, brother. This was fun. We need to do it again. We'll do it every Friday. So.
Heck yeah, dude. Hey, I'll send you this. All right.